Okay, today I'm going to focus on Messier 16. And you can see the image that I captured here a few nights ago. We're going to come back to this image in a couple minutes. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about some of the details and explain what's going on here. But this is a very famous nebula made famous by this picture here. In 1995, the Hubble Space Telescope took what is probably the most iconic astrophotography image of all time. And again, this is actually just one small portion of the Eagle Nebula. This is called the Pillars of Creation. We'll look at that in a couple of moments. Let's go over to Stellarium and kind of get ourselves oriented as to what we're looking at and where we're at. You can see here I'm looking towards sort of the southwest. Here is the constellation Sagittarius. And you'll notice as I kind of zoom here a little bit, we are looking into the inner arm of the Milky Way galaxy. Now, M16 is located right here, about 7,000 light years away from us. And again, in that inner spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy. So this is a fairly dense area with a lot of pretty interesting objects. If we go down just a little bit, you'll see here, this is the Omega Nebula. You can see some others. This is SH 246. This is the small Sagittarius star cloud, which is an incredibly dense area of stars. What's happening here is you're able to look through some dust and you're able to see kind of in towards the center of the Milky Way a little bit better. If we went down a little bit further, of course, here is the Lagoon Nebula, along with the Trifid, two very, very popular astrophotography targets. Um, this is George Harrison's favorite nebula. This is the Dark Horse Nebula. Actually, I have no idea if George Harrison actually had a favorite nebula, but it'd be pretty cool, and that's probably the one he would like most if it was. So let's go over and take a look at the image for a moment, and let me just point out a few interesting things about this particular image. Now, first of all, Messier 16 was first discovered by a French astronomer in 1745, and then later in 1764, it was I'll say rediscovered or observed by Charles Messier, who then placed it in his catalog, of course, as the 16th object. It was also in 1895 one of the very early objects that Edward Barnard photographed. And so this has been photographed for a very, very long time. There are two reasons that I've heard given for why it's called the Eagle Nebula. First of all, if you use your imagination, you can imagine maybe that this is a head and these are wings spread out, and that this would kind of look like an eagle soaring. I've also heard people who have come in and looked, and I think this is a little bit spurious, but some people say this looks like an eagle with its wings, maybe carrying something. And again, I don't know that that's really it. I think the reason it's called the eagle is really the larger structure here. Kind of looks like it has wings and that it's flying. It is also sometimes referred to as the Star Queen, and that's because if we zoom in again over here onto this pillars section, some people have said that this area here looks like a queen seated upon her throne. Again, astronomers mostly are very lonely people who sit out at night, and I'm not sure that I really see a star queen there, but I can kind of get why they call it the Eagle Nebula. Now, you'll notice that there is as in a lot of these kind of emission nebulas, there is a star cluster that is affiliated with it right here. These are all very young stars, and astronomers say there's actually about 8,100 stars that make up this cluster, and these stars were formed from the hydrogen and other elements that are present here in this nebula. You can actually see new stars being born. We can kind of see the embryos of new stars. Look at these little clumps, this here, right here. There's also one just a little bit to the south here. These are known as Bach globules, And these are areas where hydrogen and other elements are collapsing under gravitational force. And one of these days, they'll begin to glow and there'll be a new star here. So these are sort of embryonic stars. To give you an idea of about how big this is when we're looking at it. Now remember, we're looking at something that is 7,000 light years away, and it's about 70 light years from one side to the other. So about 70 light years wide and about 55 light years high. Now, if you think about that, that is huge. One light year is something like 9.5 trillion miles. And so you can do the math. This is a fairly large object, and an object that you can potentially see. You can see this in just about any small telescope if you look to the south. But some people said you can even pick it up in binoculars. Now, my visual abilities with a telescope are awful. I never can see anything, but certainly you'd be able to see this star cluster. And I guess if you observe long enough on exactly the right night, you would be able to see some of the gas as well. But this is my picture. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something about the Eagle Nebula. It's a lot of fun to do these. This was sitting on in a kind of a bad location for me to image, quite frankly. It's sort of low in the sky where I'm located right now. It ducks down behind some trees. So I can only get a couple hours a night on this. I waited too long into the season, but next seasons I'll come back in. I'll add some more detail and get a little bit more time on it, and that's the beauty of astrophotography. The sky is always there. You can come back next year and keep adding to it. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will take a look at another cool object coming up next week. Thanks for tuning in today. Just a quick reminder, if you enjoyed this video, please help support me by clicking on thumbs up and share. Thank you.